I'm going to talk about some little maverick tips, as I call them, that I want to pass on to you. Many of these tips that I discover are purely by accident. They are not deliberate, and that's why it is so useful that I feel that they are worth passing on to you. Now, if we look at these pyracantha, there must be about a dozen of them. They're quite massive trees. If you can see, they've got huge trunks, and they're partly trained trees. So we have, must be at least a dozen or more here. And what I want to point out is that you will see that some of them are more green than others. This is dark green, this is yellowish, this is dark green, and so it goes on. What I want to show you is that the ones that are dark green because the roots have gone into the gravel that it is standing on. We have a lot of gravel on the nursery, and when the pots are standing on gravel, the roots go into the gravel, and look at it. If we come close, you see the roots are all stuck in here, and the roots have grown into the gravel, and that's why they're growing so strong. I know that they become vigorous, but as long as you keep on top of it and keep it pruned, they will continue to be so. The ones which are yellow, the roots have not gone into the ground, and that's why they're not as vigorous as the dark green ones. So if you want to grow your tree strong, the trick is to stand it on a bed of gravel, and they will root into the gravel and become strong. Now, this is another example of these trees which are growing on gravel. We have this pea shingle or gravel beds all around the nursery, and by standing these trees on the gravel beds, look at the roots that have formed. Look at that. Look at all that. You see all those beautiful roots, and that is why this tree is growing so vigorously. I haven't lost control of it. Just by pruning it back, the tree will be okay. But meanwhile, because it's growing so strong, all of them, see, look at all the roots on there. The tree has thickened in the trunk, vigorous growth, and now I can select the branches and trim and wire them. So this is a trick that I would certainly recommend if you want to be lazy and not fertilize too much or have a problem with watering. Grow some of your bonsai on gravel beds, and you will find that the roots go into the gravel, they get more sustenance, and they become stronger as a result. The point of showing you this one is twofold. This Austrian black pine I placed on top of one of these flower pots, and look, the roots have gone into the soil, and of course it's made the tree much stronger. So this is like standing the thing on gravel. And you look at all the bud back on this tree. Look at all these new growth and buds. This is really old wood, and yet it buds back so well. Not only that, some of you will be saying something which I don't want to hear. You may be saying that Chan is a silly fool. He's left a wire on the trunk and it's marking it. I am deliberately leaving these wires on, and these wires will never ever be removed, because I know that it'll make the trunk swell and give character to the tree. Let me show you on a Scots pine that I did about 10 years ago. Scots pine was wired, as I said, about 10 years ago, and over the 10 years the wire has been left in the trunk, and I can show you the wire if you don't believe me. I will just find the ends of the wire. You can see the wire here, It's completely embedded in the trunk, and by being embedded in the trunk, it makes the trunk swell and gives this knobbly character. Back in the late 70s, 1970s, I would say around 78, 79, I used to experiment a lot with bonsai, and I was very active in the British Bonsai Association, which was one of the largest clubs in the UK in those days. We had about 600 or 800 members, although most of them were corresponding members. But those who came to the meeting and saw what I did. They used to say that a Chang was a silly fool. He doesn't know what he's doing. He leaves the wire on the trunk and makes them look this ugly effect. Lo and behold, when I started going to Japan in 1989, I discovered that the Japanese do the self-same thing. They leave the wires on the black pine trunks and they thicken it. And to show you what I mean, I'm going to take you out to the benches and show you some of the white pines which are grafted on black pine stock, and we see the self-same effect. These are imported Japanese white pine and they're grafted onto black pine stock, and this effect is created by leaving the wire in the trunk. The wire is left in the trunk. They use iron wire. Even the very thick ones, if we show you here, this effect happens by leaving the wire in the trunk. So I wasn't such a fool after all. When I was doing this in the 70s, I was doing exactly what the Japanese were doing in Japan. So those are useful tips to remember. Thank you.